Hey everybody! Gosh, I'm feeling so good right now. This is really one for like the record books. Um, I know I said that I'd make a video about 3 weeks ago on what I'm doing to get over depression, and I think that in my last few videos I've kind of given off maybe the perception or the image that I'm just this depressed person all the time. But in fact, because of what I've been doing over the last few years, this has been honestly one of the most happy and rewarding times of my life. So as I promised, I want to make this video about ways that I'm getting over my depression. And, hopefully maybe you can take it on your part if you deal with depression, some of the suggestions that I have to say, and maybe they'll be helpful. If not, I understand that everyone has more complicated circumstances, and honestly, that doesn't mean that you should give up, because these are just the things that I have found to have been very helpful and have worked for me. So I guess I'll just go right in to discussing how to get over this, okay? So I think with depression, with mental health, as I've discussed, it is so complex. The number of issues and, clinical, diagnostics, whatever the term you want to use to describe how, psychologists treat their patients, it is so complex. I found out over the years that I was experiencing different types of depression, and not just a general depression disorder. I certainly have found that I also function with high functioning depression, or dysthymia as it's called. But you can also just be dealing with other things on top as well. So trying to make a distinction, and then trying to set yourself apart, trying to feel like I'm not welcome in this world, this isolation, this feeling in and of thinking that you have a disease, quote unquote, can be one of the first things, right? So when you're depressed, you deal with a lot of emotions. You might have been grieving over something, you feel isolated, and it might be a various things, but in general, these are things that I felt for sure. I had also gotten depression from feelings of guilt, because I wasn't fulfilling some expectations that other people had on me. And not that these expectations are always justified, but those feelings, they drag with you. So part of dealing with depression is forgiveness. Part of dealing with depression is realizing, even if you did something that was, something to feel guilty about, even if you did something that was wrong or hurtful to other people in the past, you still do have to forgive yourself. You still have to love yourself, because ultimately what you're trying to do is make yourself better for now. And so part of that is changing your mind, right? And changing the way you look at things. And I've found that to be the most insane, most innovative thing that's out there. So, very quickly, you feel isolated. You feel, you might be grieving, and you might also feel like it's the end. You might feel doom, you might feel PTSD, you might feel all of these things, but ultimately what we want to do is get you or whoever is depressed back to now, and appreciate the privileges and the happiness of now. For me, it was getting myself out of my head, all of the complex thoughts, whether that would be my analysis, whether they be overhearing other words from other people, what they're saying, or, whether it be just remembering things. Ultimately, we want to get back to now, right? So focusing on the now, then, has to be divided into a few things, right? As someone who deals with depression, the results of depression, they affect your relationships with other people, they affect your body, they affect your living situation, the way you take care of the objects around your house. For example, like when I was depressed, when I get depressed, I find that I neglect doing laundry and keeping things off the floor. So all of these things have to be addressed in order to undo the effects of depression, because it's like glue. If you don't remove all of it, then when you put your hand down, your hand will still stick, and then it will spread the glue back all over. So you have to remove all of it to make yourself clean and happy and whole. And it's an ongoing process, is the last thing I have to say about that, because there's this need to eradicate depression from your life, or at least that's how I felt. I didn't want to have sad or bad thoughts anymore, but the truth of it is that anyone who is happy or successful, you will see they are that way because they practice this happiness. They practice a success, and not just practice in the vague sense that we think that when we create good habits will be there, but in the sense that we are constantly working on this. So, some things I have done, at least since high school, since, some of my worst times over the years, have been trying to go outside, exercising, trying to make friendships, reaching outside of the friendships that I have already, I think if you find yourself in some toxic relationships with friends, just having community isn't always helpful if you find that they don't relate. So finding communities and people that you can talk to you about your problems. Seeing a psychologist, psychiatrist, getting medication is something that I really strongly consider for people that are especially have like a severe depression, because it helps to have at least some sort of help to get you out of what is truly a deep hole that if you even try to take your first step, the wall is so steep you just fall back down. So getting to a place where you can feel like you can make steps forward is absolutely important. Identifying your problem, know where you are and what you would need to have to get you out of this situation. So, what I had done for the last couple of years, I've been riding. I got a bike. I bought myself a bike. I like riding my bike. I like swimming. I go swimming with my mom every weekend. It's amazing. I get the chance of seeing friends every now and then, but we do live fairly far away from each other, so it's kind of difficult, but we make time and we make spontaneous moments happen. And it might be that you feel like, wow, we're 30 minutes, 3 weeks ago I was setting up this event with a friend, but 30 minutes before, man, this doesn't sound like something I want to do at all. But pushing through the BS and saying, no, I said I wanted to do it then. I clearly had an awesome rationale at the time that I was, thinking positive thoughts. But now I just want to stay home and continue my habits. Cutting through that BS, absolutely key, you know. So I think that there's a tendency, if you maybe if you're coming off like me, I'm like on an energy high right now because I just feel really good, to maybe sound a little fake. But these are actual things that you have to do to make sure that you're taking care of yourself in general. Cut through your own BS, but also maybe I should have started this video. What I have found is that it is also important to understand that we're human beings with different energy levels. And it might be that you want to take care of your body, and you want to take care of your intellect, and well, your whole being, but that you don't always have the energy. And so that might be one of the reasons why you choose to have a lifestyle, whatever. I don't want to stigmatize people or judge people for whatever they do, but might be one of the reasons why you stay inside, or you stay on low energy associated with depression, is because, well, in general, you just don't have high energy levels. And in those cases, even during your most passive times, you can practice. There are workbooks that can help you, and what I found to be the most helpful of all are positive affirmation and meditation. So meditation is great to loving the body and loving yourself and treating yourself with dignity, and, well, not dignity, but, just treating your body and loving it in general. But self-affirmations are, positive self-affirmations have been insanely helpful. I was using them just the other day when I was in class, actually. I was stressed out and listening to Louise Hay, and she makes made awesome self-affirmations videos. So what it is essentially is, you have, well, I guess usually a video where someone else is saying, I love myself, and then you repeat them. You say, I love myself, because what you're trying to do is you're trying to disassemble the relationships that you've created with reality, or with other people, or with, the world, or like God, or whoever, or whatever it feels like you have beef with, where it just feels like maybe you're being rejected a lot, or maybe it just feels like you just can't get through. Taking that 5 to 10 minutes every day, or even just when you have it, to say, I love myself, and imprint that in your brain. Don't let anything else go through. To say things to yourself about insecurities is like your strongest way, truly, of undoing that. It's insane how we have the power to undo this, all these negative ideas that are thrown our way. We can undo them. We can decide not to listen to the voices anymore in our heads. So, I think self-affirmations, positive self-affirmations, and in general, bringing those ideas of trying to realize that you are ultimately, your own advocate. You can't wait for someone else to come into your life to say, it's okay, they're there. You have to be the one. You almost have to create a character out of yourself. Not like multiple personalities, but like you have to say, I love myself. And you have to feel it, and it feels great. So, yes, do that. Take care of your body, Do exercises because it makes you feel good. I think that a lot of people who are depressed feel like, well, what makes me feel good? I like staying in. I like Netflix. I like doing the same old because it doesn't require thinking. It doesn't require the painful thoughts going round and round. But it's like this decision to get rid of the old, perhaps vices or addictions that we have, choosing sugar and soda and that kind of stuff. That decision to come from that and then say, you know what, no, I don't want that. I want the long-term feeling of accomplishment when I do a homework assignment, and get it out of the way before last minute. When I do riding my bike, and yes, it might make my muscles feel painful, and it burns for the minute, but afterwards it feels so good. And the energy that I'm left with, that I almost just don't know what to do with afterwards, it feels amazing. I get goosebumps nowadays from working out, from going on hikes with friends, from doing yoga, from going to a language conversation table, because I'm putting myself out there. And I don't feel so helpless and so bound in those moments. It's when I decide to be more isolated, low energy, don't take care of my body, don't form good habits, that I'm starting to set myself up for that. Now, I think I can't paint this as black and white, because the truth is that mental health is complex, and it might be that there are more physiological bound explanations for, your case, and there certainly is more complicated things in my case alone. But ultimately, whatever the limits that my biology puts on me, they shouldn't necessarily, set the bar, the limit for any of the other aspects of my life on how much I can be getting out of, say, social. I shouldn't be limited by what I perceive my biological, level of happiness to be, because I am starting to let that affect my social habits, my eating, my whatever. Back to the eating, very quickly before I try to wrap up. Eating and eating disorders are serious. I don't even know how to describe this other than the lived experience of not eating enough or eating too much. It changes the way other people view you, and it changes the way you feel physically about yourself, and the way that you view your own body image and your own self-worth. The choice over the last couple of years to try to eat more, and I have put on weight, but to see food differently. Food used to be a chore. It was something that I had to do. I had to go get out of my, gaming or sitting around watching TV, whatever the lifestyle might be. Food was a chore. It kind of hurt my stomach to eat much, because I wasn't eating much, because I had a low energy lifestyle, a not very happy one, where I wasn't doing much other than going to school. And yes, I was always doing a lot, because I was always fairly active, but in the moments when I didn't find activity, those were the lowest of the lows, because I would stop eating. So whether you're under eating or overeating, finding the right metaphor to look food as, instead of looking food as a way to fill something that's missing, or to indulge about, or it's something that has to do with capital and money and complex ideas, whatever the case may be. Viewing food as fuel to live your life, to do the other fun things, saying to yourself, whatever you want to do is exciting, and having these kind of perceptions, creating this for yourself, is the most liberating thing. It really is. saying no to the world when the world says, you can't do this. You will never be able to accomplish this. You will never be this. You'll never do that. You're just a little fat slob. You should feel guilty. Oh my gosh, all these things we say to ourselves in the day-to-day, and all the signs that we read around the world, around our, if you're going through campus, if you overhear a conversation about someone who had a travel adventure, and you just start to feel helpless because you think, wow, I wish I had enough money to go on a travel adventure. Or, wow, I wish I was cool like this person that I perceive to be so cool. Instead of thinking about what makes them so cool in your eyes, and therefore what makes you so not cool, so ugly, creating an analytical mind is also absolutely important. Playing devil's advocate by saying, you know what, they sound cool, and they've got this little persona here, right? But there's a little more to the story, right? Creating this character of saying, there's a little more to the story has been absolutely key to maintaining sanity. Because the truth is that we all do come from various levels of wealth, various levels of privilege, and that shouldn't ever define whether or not we think it's time to give up now, because we think that everything is set up. And honestly, there were times in my depression when I felt like the whole experience of life was a simulation, and I was just waiting for the game creator to say, all right, finally, we've given you enough, we gave you enough of a beatdown, or someone was going to step in and give me mercy, or someone was going to step in and say, geez, Raymond, the way you approach life is so, you got it all wrong. You're missing the one key ingredient. And then epiphany, like I was just suddenly going to be happy after that or something. But creating this level of skepticism and an analysis, as well as countering notions of self-worth, especially comparative self-worth in the case of being on campus or at school, is that's a skill that you absolutely have to be able to come to. Playing that devil's advocate is not just healthy for yourself, but it makes you more sociable, being this skeptic. And I think we all are a little bit of that skeptic, but I think there are times when some people with depression don't necessarily have that skill. So, overall, the things I want to emphasize the most in this video are that it is, depression is complex. Find out what is your problems and figure out a game plan on addressing them. And I mean an active game plan. Do not pretend like you're just going to arrive at some granted set of habits. No, pretend instead that the metaphor is that this is the plate that, the divine ones above gave you, and that you constantly have to deal with. This is just like an eye color, so, or a hair color or whatever, it's a trait you got to deal with. It's not just some habit sometimes. View it as something you're going to deal with all the time, because depression doesn't go away, and it does come back. But knowing how to deal with it when it is there, and knowing how to avoid it, is absolutely key. Absolutely key to staying happy, and to not digging yourself into the holes of going further and further down, deeper into the depression. So, if you like this video, if you find it helpful, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe. Maybe consider subscribing. Hit the bell button if you want to receive updates. Also, if you don't like this video, or if you don't find the information be useful, or you disagree with it, feel free to reply in the comments section below. And I look forward to making more videos. This truly, honestly, if you want to get over depression, start making videos. Finding an audience, finding a place where I for years loved vloggers and YouTubers. And I would go around the house walking back and forth, almost, okay, schizophrenic is not the right term to use, but in a sense it was kind of like that, because I would form half a thought, and I'd run back and forth to talk to myself. I'd do this in public. People thought I was crazy. And to finally get this out in front of the camera, I'm just so excited. So, again, like, subscribe, and I will see you next time.